That I haven't done any video at all yet today, and morning is getting close to being over. Oopsie. I guess now's the time to fix that, huh? I don't even remember where this gate was now. It was somewhere in the main barn, somewhere where we had to offset the hinge. That's about all I really remember. And yeah, you know, when you seal tubes up and you're this part of the country, I don't care what you do, they will draw damp. It's been fixed here before. I don't know how many times it's been repainted. Yep. Sealed up tube. They draw moisture, then it freezes. And of course, manure doesn't help any. This was just to get it back together, to put it back in. Hadn't been used for a few years. It's going to get cut back to, I marked it. There. Wherever the handle is, that's where the piece will be. And no, it's still not straight. I actually kind of overdid it down here. I laid it down and threw a couple 2x on the ground and drove over it. I don't know how many times. I had a hard time getting right here to tweak. And when I finally got this to tweak, yeah, that went too far. But that whole tube's a little pregnant. But it will do the job. Oh, and these are only 5/8 holes. I'm gonna bore them out to 3/4 because that's what's out there is 3/4 inch holes, and just put frickin' bolts in it. This end is probably just gonna get tied shut with twine because there's no really good way to do it. But I'm gonna start by cutting some stuff off, and of course, I gotta cut these off because I don't think they're going to clear the railroad tie. They'll be close. They might, but don't take much to knock them off. I don't even have to take them clear off. I can get by with just taking the main part of it off and leave where it's welded on there. It's easier. Get her down so there's no edges. So that's what I was doing. I'd like to finish the stick on that, but hey, unfortunately, other things come up. Should be cleaning barn because the weather's been good enough for that. I think the pastures are solid enough to get out on. But yeah, I could do that by myself, but it takes a hell of a long time. It's always nicer to have some help. I can stay on the loader and somebody else can run spreader, but otherwise it takes a hell of a long time. Got that cut off. I got to clean it up yet. Put the bar on. Little safety tip. If you got a cut on a gate, make sure there's no load on it. If you got a cut on it, play with your cut a little bit. The front of the feed barn where we go in to feed, those are all round tube gates. They're considered a bull gate, galvanized. We bought those to replace the originals, which were 1.5 inch square tube that we'd built, but they just don't hold up out there. I mean, the ones on the back wall are still there, but a couple of them need a little help. Ones on the front where they're out in the weather too, on the north side of the building, so they really take it in the shorts. We couldn't afford to buy the frickin' tubing to make gates. The price of metal had gone way up. This has been, 25 years ago anyway. And it was cheaper to buy those and buy sizes that didn't fit the hole and cut them down. A couple of those got 2.5 feet cut off of them, which has been kind of nice because we've got the pieces we cut out. I've been using them for years for different things. But when I went to cut those off, these got an end piece and then just your cross pieces, but those are made where your end piece goes up to the top and it's bent and then comes down, and at this end it's bent, and then the cross piece is all put in. And let's see, there it is. I had a cutoff disc on that 9-inch grinder. I was right here by the bench. I think I had the extension cord on it. But I was literally cutting it right, same place in the shop that I just cut this. Maybe over a little farther because I know I had a little room. First one I went to cut, in the back of my mind went, there's preload on this. I know there is. So I did not cut all the way through. Now keep in mind, round, not square, but look at what I happen to have right here. That happens to be a piece off of it. I cut through and I left about that much right there. Because I thought, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go cut all of them part way through, then I'll turn it over and I won't have any preload. I won't get screwed. Well, I don't have anything round to put in there, but I'll just use my hand. If I run the saw to right there and I started backing out, I got to about there when it collapsed what was holding at the bottom. It pinched the blade, took a half moon out of it. I hate trigger locks on stuff like that. We never use them. We just hadn't happened to disable that one yet on that grinder. Somehow the trigger lock got stuck when it pinched and flipped in my hand. The grinder proceeded to come around and I had a long sleeve hickory shirt and a sweatshirt on. It took that hickory shirt and the sweatshirt and it wrapped it up until there was no grinder to be seen. It ran right up my left arm and up into my armpit. And of course I'm sitting there, it's all bound up and the grinder's going humming like crazy because it can't turn and it's still got juice because the trigger's locked on. It's about all I could do to reach back to the bench and unplug it. And it pulled the shirt up my back far enough that I took my right hand and went up behind my neck, just below where the collar should be. And I grabbed the bottom of that hickory shirt and the sweatshirt and pulled it all off together with the grinder in it. Not a lot to show, if I can get my watch out of the way. You really can't see it on the camera. Yeah. I figure how to point. I ain't learned to point. There's a dip right there. Center of the screen, there's a little high spot. I got a knot there about a 1/4 inch in diameter. That's the tendon that got cut. I sliced about a 6-inch long slice diagonal across my arm there. And about a 4-inch spot by the elbow. Only part they put stitches in the wrist and they put stitches in the middle, and the other one didn't get stitches. And that'll happen before you can even blink. And I was being safe, quote, and, consciously thinking about it. So on this one, I'm thinking, yeah, there shouldn't be any preload. There wasn't. The way it was made, there wasn't any actual preload. But with the way this gate's been beat up over the years, there was side load. And, once you take the straight edge off the end, they're not all straight anymore. And yes, I did cut this one carefully. If you notice the cut, I did not go all the way through on any of them till after I had all of them partially cut. But I just thought I'd bring that up. 6 minutes of BSing might save somebody a whole lot of shit later, because it could have been really bad. I got lucky, and I admit it. And that wrist pays for it once in a while. Most of the time it doesn't bother me. Sometimes it does. Notice an issue here. Got to be a dumbass in every group. And yep, he gets the dumbass award. He's actually been in there all freaking day. He wasn't in there when I fed Graydon this morning, but he's been in there ever since. And these feeders, it's kind of a pain to get them out. They got to figure out what they're doing to get out. If I got to lift that feeder up to let him out, I'm going to be really unhappy, because that means I'm going to have to clean part of the pad off because it won't set back in there right. Also means I got to untie the feeder. what I have found is Hot Shot's a really good tool, because they'll do anything to get away from that if they figure they're going to get it. So, yeah. I got to put a bail in there too, so I got to get him out. And border cross top, so they got a little more of a blind. It's tight on there, as tight as it's going to be. Bolts worked nicely. I put spacers underneath the bottom one to hold it up a little bit. Threw a spacer in there just because. Mostly just lock washers. I don't use them for anything anyway, because all they do is break and fail. So there it is. Shouldn't have to worry about this for another 50 years, right? So I won't have to worry about it at all. I wear rubber boots that don't fit up her calves, so she wears some little ankle-high muck boots. If she would have gone any other track, she could have got on dry ground sooner. I couldn't go in any farther, so that's where she's stuck. And she's still got to get the twine off that bale. Made her to set her tracks to the feeder. She can do it now. It never fails. Number one seems to always be not here when we got to feed anymore. So that's when Becky gets to do it. I have a little friend up there, middle of the screen. He's not happy. And I can't keep up with him. I'm not sure where he went. Oh, he's up above there. Up in the peak. Becky followed me in here after we got done feeding and brought some tools back in here, and she decided to prop the walk-through door open. And she walked out, and Hummingbird came in. They don't come in here very often. He was roosting. Well, setting for a second. Now he's back up at the skylight again. They like to come down here by the walk-through door, because a lot of times there'll be bugs on the outside of it. And it's nothing to look out there and see 3 or 4 of them chasing bugs. And, with it being open, they chase the bugs right on in. So now I got to try to get him out of here. Because I don't like, I like hummingbirds. They're cool. They eat a lot of mosquitoes. I kind of like to be nice to them. And I'm going to have to open the doors the rest of the way up, or he's never going to see it. He just won't look down. Turned out to be a nice day. Those cows have been waiting there for a while. I'm about a half hour late letting them in down there. But no worries, I'll get it. We got 56 degrees outside, in here in the shop, even with the doors wide open, it's 62. And that's, the furnace ain't been on since I've been in here. I did find me a piece. It's still a little warm, not too warm though. That should work to clamp onto the stick that's poking up. I got to get it to spread a little bit, but this here's the other piece I cut off of there. And I did have it in there. I'll be honest, I put it in a vise and pushed it in, but it came out easy enough. So I'm thinking what I might do, the stick ain't perfectly round. It's not perfect. That had a 5/8 hole in it. I opened it up to 3/4, but I used an old bit that I know is wore down a little bit. I do got a 3/4 reamer, so I'll probably run the reamer through that hole, and then it should slide right on. And with the reamer, I can play a little and open it up if I want to. As long as the clamp's tight, that's the important part. I clean the paint off that end, because that's what got to come off of. Unless I come off the side, I can put it this way, come off the side. That might be just as well, I don't know. All depends on what I decide to do. I got to get it kind of under there and let my brain work, but I'm going to call her a night. It's there, bolts with it, kick my glove off. Oh, and there's the shocks that were in that gate I cut up earlier and fixed. You already seen it in place, so. And Becky's cleaning in the basement in the trailer. She's finding stuff. I don't mind her bringing this out. That's a full bit set that was hers in our house in Banks. And the DeWalt bag underneath it was our 20-volt DeWalt stuff, which she had there. And she's bringing more junk out. I just got to find some place to put it. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you had a good weekend. And hey, I hope you have a good week too. Hope my week goes better than the weekend has.